Pieter Bruegel the Elder, painter, storyteller, and the keen-eyed observer of human life. His canvases are bustling theaters. Peasants dance, hunters return from the cold, devils fall from the sky, and towers rise toward a mocking heaven. Bruegel brought everyday scenes into moral fables, folding social commentary into landscapes so detailed you can lose yourself in them for hours. He invented a new kind of northern storytelling in paint, one that treats common people with both affection and ironic distance. Look closely and you will find jokes, proverbs, biblical drama, and the rhythms of seasons all working at once. From the sweeping winter of Hunters in the Snow to the compact chaos of Netherlandish proverbs, his work rewards repeated viewing, revealing new characters, new gags, new judgments each time. Today we'll walk through his most famous paintings, his methods, and the curiosities that make Bruegel one of the most original voices of the 16th century. Before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support helps us keep creating more educational videos like this one. Bruegel was born around 1525 in the Low Countries, trained in Antwerp, and traveled to Italy, where he studied the landscapes and classical ruins that later filtered into his work. Yet he returned north and turned his back on Italianate classicism, choosing instead to paint the world he knew: villages, market days, icy fields, and the moral puzzles of everyday speech. Early portraits and engravings circulated after his death. An engraved portrait that preserved his image, and later portraits and prints that shaped how generations saw him. His life sits between workshop practice and personal invention. He ran a busy studio, collaborated with printmakers and younger painters, and left a surprisingly small number of signed works, each packed with invented detail. That mixture of workshop tradition and individual imagination is central to understanding his achievement. Let's start with drama on an apocalyptic scale. The Fall of the Rebel Angels, painted in 1562, looks like a cabinet of curiosities gone wild. Angels, monstrous hybrids, and salvaged classical fragments tumble through a dense, jewel-like scene. Bruegel fills every corner with biting invention, insects, grotesques, and a crowd of creatures that seem half human, half satire. You can see this unpredictable energy in several versions and details that art historians have obsessed over for centuries. By contrast, The Triumph of Death presents a grim, panoramic vision of mortality. Here, Bruegel stretches the human catastrophe across a battlefield of corpses and skeletons, a danse macabre where the ordinary and the macabre coexist. Both paintings show Bruegel's ability to handle complex narrative and to make moral and theological themes feel immediate and public. In The Fall of the Rebel Angels, you find the artist's relish for invention. In The Triumph of Death, you feel his seriousness about society's fragility. One of Bruegel's repeated visual obsessions is the Tower of Babel. He painted versions that play with scale and engineering, a Roman amphitheater of scaffolding in one, a colossal half-built spiral in another. The tower is not just a biblical spectacle. It's a comment on human pride, on the hubris of monumental projects, and on the folly of assuming unity can be imposed by stone and sweat alone. Bruegel treats builders as both industrious and comically small against their ambition, and he delights in architectural detail: cranes, scaffolds, wagons, and workers tiny as ants. The multiple tower paintings and their details became a favorite subject for collectors, and for viewers, they remain a favorite puzzle. What does the tower mean in an age of rising urban power, mercantile ambition, and religious dispute? Bruegel leaves the answer ambiguous, full of humor and warning. Bruegel's genius shines in scenes of ordinary life. Hunters in the Snow gives us a wide winter valley where a small band of hunters trudges back toward a village alive with ice skaters, fires, and tiny domestic dramas. It's a painting about climate and season as much as about people. The hunters return to a community shaped by winter. The peasant wedding and the wedding dance, often grouped together in conversations about Bruegel, are intimate ethnographies of peasant festivities. The peasant wedding places us inside a noisy hall, a bride nearly lost amid workers, guests, and ritual. The wedding dance is exuberant and a little bawdy, peasants whirling, shoes flying, music and disorder in equal measure. Bruegel's peasant scenes are rarely romantic. They are observant, earthy, and sometimes satirical, showing both the dignity and the comic excesses of village life. Then there are Bruegel's moral puzzles, Netherlandish Proverbs, and children's games. Netherlandish Proverbs is a tour of human folly, a crowded scene populated by dozens of proverbs rendered literally. To pour oil on troubled waters, to be in cloud cuckoo land, each saying becomes a visual gag. For viewers then and now, it's irresistible to hunt for each proverb and to guess what the painting thinks of them. Children's Games is a catalog of the games children played in the 16th century, painted like an anthropologist's list, but with a knowing tenderness. The misanthrope compresses social judgment into a single figure, a man whose back is turned to the world, yet tripped by a pickpocket or distracted by a follower. These works show how Bruegel could be playful and moral at the same time, delighting in detail while insisting on a lesson. What unites Bruegel's range is technique. He favored an almost topographic clarity, panoramic landscapes crowded with minuscule figures, composed so that a single viewer's eye can journey from foreground anecdote to distant vista. He combined careful observation with a graphic, almost print-like line, a carryover from his connections with printmakers. Look at the tower details, the tiny cranes and arches. Bruegel loved mechanical specificity. His palette can be muted or bright, but his tonal control gives atmospheric depth. The blue of winter distances in Hunters in the Snow, the warm browns of a wedding hall, the metallic gleam in the fall of the rebel angels. And he loved details, a turned-up shoe, a bird on a roof, a face in the crowd, each one a potential joke or clue. Bruegel liked to play games with his viewers. Collectors and modern viewers treat his paintings like visual puzzles. Count the proverbs, find the lost child, spot the chimney aflame in Hunters in the Snow. He embeds puns, jokes, and moral enigmas, small scenes that reward patient looking. That practice made his work ideal for prints. Many compositions were reproduced and adapted, spreading his inventions across Europe. Bruegel's images also reflect 16th century debates, religious anxiety, social hierarchy, and the changing rhythms of work and leisure in a commercializing world. His visual wit masks sharp observation. These are images that teach as much as they entertain. Bruegel's influence rippled outward. His observational realism inspired later Flemish painters, and through prints, his imagery entered the European visual vocabulary. Painters copied his subjects, printmakers adapted his scenes, and writers reached back to his images for metaphors of human folly and seasonal life. His sons and followers reproduced his scenes, spreading them even further. More broadly, Bruegel created a northern model of painting where narrative, landscape, and social detail coexisted, a tradition that fed into Baroque inventiveness and Dutch genre painting. Museums from Vienna to Brussels to Berlin now hold his masterpieces, and his paintings continue to spark debates about authorship, meaning, and the everyday lives of the past. Returning to Bruegel's work after a long look is like entering a crowded room full of stories. He made viewers slow down, taught them to notice detail, and used humor and moral seriousness in equal measure. Whether he's showing a frozen landscape, a chaotic wedding, an apocalyptic fall, or a crowded proverb, he invites curiosity. Who are these people? What are they doing? And what does their behavior tell us about ourselves? That mixture of vivid observation, moral reflection, and playful invention is why Pieter Bruegel the Elder remains essential, an artist who made the everyday into something both comic and profound. If you enjoyed this exploration, look up the paintings we mentioned and spend time with them. Bruegel rewards patient sight.